Welcome back. Welcome to Vlogtober day 28. Today I am chatting about the full moon. Today is the full moon this evening. I think it peaks at 4:24 p.m. Eastern time, and it is what is called the hunter's moon. Each full moon, there's one per month. Sometimes there is a second one in a month that's called the blue moon, but usually one per month, and each has a different name. The moon this month is called the hunter's moon. It is usually in October. Sometimes it can be the beginning of November. The first moon around the autumn equinox, which is Mabon in September, is called the harvest moon, and then the one after that is called the hunter's moon. Most of these names come from a European translation of what the Native Americans used to call these moons. And the hunter's moon was named because this was the time when most, not all, of the crops have been harvested, and the wildlife is particularly well fed. So while they are out grazing in these empty fields, it is much easier to spot them on this night in that empty area with the bright moonlight on them in order to hunt and gather and preserve all of that meat for the upcoming winter months. Full moons in general are particularly powerful. It is all about that lunar energy and the moon's effect on the tides and our emotions. So it's pulling that water closer, it's pulling our emotions closer to the surface, and it's also pulling the spirit world closer. So this is going to be a particularly strong one for spirit activity because we are so close to Samhain. Let me know if you work in a field that is often superstitious about full moons, whether you work in the emergency room or for the police department. People in those fields are always saying that full moons tend to make people crazier, and they have a lot of activity going on. So I'm wondering if people are in for a rough night this evening with extra heightened activity. Full moons are great for a few different energies. So this is when the moon is at its peak. It's about halfway through its cycle. So it is a great time for manifesting the intentions that we set at the new moon. So it's a time of abundance, fertility, harvest, tapping into that lunar power. So if you want to charge things under the full moon, it's an ideal night for it. Also great for divination, and especially with how close we are to Samhain, divination senses are heightened. So great evening for practicing divination and also for charging your divination tools under the moonlight. So your tarot, oracle, any crystals that you may use, great to charge those under the moonlight this evening. Full moon is also associated with healing and protection, but also with letting things go. So like I mentioned in that cord cutting ritual yesterday, this would be a great day to attempt one of those cord cuttings or to try your own preferred method of just letting things go, banishing, getting rid of them in your life. This is the time to leave them behind. So there are a lot of great spells and rituals that you could work on today with all of those various aspects of full moon energy. And I did want to give you a couple of specific ideas. First up, shielding. Shielding is very specific to that hunter's moon energy because the shield is part of that warrior hunter energy. And I think shielding at this time of year would be a great idea, especially if you're going to a Halloween party this evening. If you are an empath and you're constantly picking up on the energies of people in crowds, a shield is a great option. Energetic shield is when you envision a sort of wall that's put up or a bubble that is all around you that other energies cannot penetrate. A lot of people do this every day if they go out and are particularly susceptible to other people's energies and they don't want to be bringing that home, having that attached to them. Then putting up a shield is essential because nothing is going to get through that. It's just going to bounce off. So that is a energy sensing exercise where you are sort of pushing out your energy and making this bubble around you. Some people struggle with the visualization of energy like that and imagining that protective bubble. And if that is the case, you can do a form of sympathetic magic to make that shield instead and make it just a little easier for you to see and understand, in which case you could light a candle that represents yourself and ring the candle with salt or with witch's salt, black salt. That is an extra layer of protection, and that ring around the candle is your protection, and you can burn down that candle, and while you do, you can visualize that being the protective barrier around you, and then you can gather up those remains once the candle is burnt down and carry those with you when you leave the house as a very tangible reminder of that shield that is up around you. If you instead want to focus on that aspect of preservation that goes along with the hunter's moon, because they are preserving that meat into the winter months, then you could instead focus on the positive things that have been going well, any positive changes that you've been making, whatever blessings that you have in your life right now, focus on those and preserving those into the future. So again, you can do a candle spell with this and write down those intentions and what it is that you want to preserve, and spend some time in that moon energy, just being thankful for those blessings and those things that you do have and do want to preserve. And use a cauldron to burn that petition down and preserve those ashes. You can collect them into a small bottle or dish to keep on your altar for the coming months as a physical reminder of that preservation and that moon energy. And again, that is something that you could charge by moonlight as well. Burn that petition down and place those ashes in the moonlight and collect them in the morning. And lastly, it is a great night for doing a sort of protection around those positive things. So it's more of a joyous protection than, say, my Samhain protections on my home. That's more of a, curses triggered if thieves try to touch stuff. This is more of a joyous protection where you are not only preserving those things, but also then protecting them and protecting that energy. A apple candle is great for this. Apples are a symbol of protection. If you cut them horizontally instead of vertically like we normally do, you will see in the center of the apple, the seeds make a pentagram shape. So apples and the seeds are often used in protection rituals. So for this, you would just need to cut that apple in half and then hollow out a little spot to place a candle. That could be a tea light, it could be a chime candle, whatever you have. And then carve any sigils that you would like in there that are associated with protection and happiness for you. And sprinkle on any herbs that are also associated with that. Sugar might be a good one for that joyous energy. And place that under the moonlight, maybe sit outside, sit under a skylight. Again, spending time with that lunar energy and envisioning that energy going into your spell work. And allow that candle to burn down as you think about all of these positive things that are going well in your life that you would like to protect. And you can take those spell remains, take that apple and bury that in your backyard to keep that protection going, especially during the winter months, because the ground will then freeze over that. So many fun ways to interact with a full moon. There are a lot of energies going around and a lot of different correspondences. So many people, many witches feel particularly drained at the full moon. Even though it is that time of energy, it's also a time of like the heightened emotion, heightened senses, and that can be really draining for a person. So if you are feeling like particularly tired, you are not alone in that. It can be a rough time of the month. So hopefully those gave you some ideas of like the whole spectrum of things that you could do with this full moon energy. You could do a full preservation and protection ritual, or you could just place your tarot deck in the moonlight and pick it up in the morning. There's really no right or wrong way to observe the full moon, and my own actions change every month. It doesn't necessarily depend on the specific associations of that month's moon. It's just really how I'm feeling on that day and whether I even remembered it was coming up. And obviously, since I filmed this video, I did remember that it's coming up. So I do have more things planned. I think I'm going to do the apple protection ritual this evening. But there are months where I'm not paying attention and I completely miss that it's the full moon at all, and I do nothing. So it does not make you any more or less of a witch if you also miss a full moon. I know new moons and full moons are big on social media, but you might not have the energy to keep up with that every month, and that's okay. That is everything that I have for Vlogtober day 28. If you are planning on anything for this full moon this evening, let me know what you are going to be getting up to. If you are going out to any Halloween parties, let me know what your costume is. I love that. We are having people over this evening. There will be guest prep videos and costume recaps and decor recaps to be coming. Hopefully you enjoy those, and I will see you tomorrow.